Now to make a fat stack of white Manna sliders, the most famous sliders in America, the first thing we're gonna need is some beautiful ground beef. Here I have some 80/20 ground chuck, and you can use whatever blend of ground beef you want, or you can even grind your own meat. And I've got roughly a pound of it. And since we're gonna be using slider rolls, the size of the burger patty kinda matters. So I'm just gonna put some cling wrap on my scale. And White Manna serves two sizes of burgers, a single and a double. And they roughly measure it, so they'll just kind of eyeball it. But I'm going for about 1.5 ounces. 1.4, I'll throw a little piece on. We're at 1.7, I'll go 1.5 to 1.7 is my range. And now that's going to be a single, and they'll go out and measure a bunch of those singles. And the second size is a double. And a double would essentially be two singles stacked and smashed on top of each other. So we're just gonna go ahead and just measure out a whole bunch of singles. And if we want doubles, then you know how to make it. So I've got my 12 sliders, and that's just from a pound. You can scale this up from here. And of course I got raw beef on the board, against my wishes. Next up, we've got onions. Now, White Manna basically serves mini slider versions of the Oklahoma onion burger, which we have covered on this show. And for a pound of beef, you need at least 2 onions, and depending on the size, I'm just gonna go a little bit extra just to make sure I have plenty of onions, because the onions are the best part of this burger. So you wanna make sure you have plenty. Now I've got my mandolin here, and I'm just gonna dial it in basically as thin as I can. So I'm just gonna cut the tops of the onion off. And you see how I can't really fit the onion on the mandolin? I'm gonna give it a little trim job. And once it sits nicely on the mandolin, then we can peel it up. And then very carefully, I suggest you use a little safety glove. Go ahead and calibrate. Let's see where we're at. That's a little too thick. Maybe a little bit thinner. That's thicker. There it is. Should be nice and jiggly. And once you dial it in, take your time, be very careful. Make sure you've got a nice firm grip, and go ahead and slice those onions as thin as you can with the mandolin. Even with that glove, keep those digits out of harm's way. And once you've got all the onions sliced up, get them into the bowl and set them aside. That should be more than enough. And then finally, we've got some American cheese. Now this slice of cheese is much bigger than the bun, and too much cheese for that patty of meat. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna take my cheese, I'm just gonna cut the piece of cheese the size of the bun. And then keep the scraps, we can still use those. It's a little wonky, but trust me, it works. And then of course we've got our potato rolls. And we kind of have to prep the rolls for this, right? These get steamed on top of the buns. That beefy, oniony juice comes up and steams to warm up the buns. And they sit on top with the bottom bun on top, and then the top bun on top of that. So we're gonna set these up just like that, so that we can just easily apply them to our burgers when they're on the griddle. Now, part of the reason I love a recipe like this, especially in the summertime with all these backyard barbecues we throw, is how many burgers you can make easily in a short amount of time. But it's really only made possible by a gorgeous carbon steel griddle like this, thanks to our sponsor today, Maiden. The Maiden griddle brings restaurant quality cooking right to your home. Made in Sweden with the same professional grade carbon steel that the best chefs in the world use in their restaurants. It can be used outdoors on the grill, over an open flame, or indoors on gas, electric, or induction cooktop. The griddle is pre-seasoned and naturally non-stick, ready to start using right out of the box, and without any chemicals or coatings. And just like cast iron, as you use and season your carbon steel griddle, it'll continue to develop layers of naturally non-stick seasoning. And it's heat safe up to 1200 degrees for cooking over an open fire or right on your stovetop. Perfect for making fluffy pancakes, steaks with a perfect crust, and especially perfect mini sliders. And of course, to smash those burgers, the Maiden grill press is crafted from high-performance stainless steel and can withstand up to 800 degrees of heat. The griddle offers ample surface area covering 2 burners so that you can cook for multiple people easily without crowding the pan, just like we're doing with these sliders. So to pick yourself up one of these griddles and all of my favorite goodies over at Maiden, click the link in the description and let's get some burgers cooking. Now you could probably cook about 10 singles on this griddle, but I'm gonna do 5 for now just to take it slow. Throw 5 singles on the grill and then hit them with a little bit of salt, and then we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna take the onions and we're gonna put a hefty amount on each and just use that spatula to hold it in place. And you kind of wanna add more onions than you think because they're gonna shrink down by a lot. Then we're gonna take the griddle press and we're gonna smash them, but we're not gonna smash them to like a real smashed burger. These aren't just like a lacy edged, super crusty burgers. We're just gonna smash them till they're a nice, thin, even thickness. thickness. I forgot to add a little bit of oil, so I'm just gonna squirt some around the burgers. Then we're just gonna let them cook, tuck those spread out onions into the patties, and then once that first side develops a little bit of a crust, then we can go ahead and flip them all. We can season that other side with salt, and then right on top we can add a slice of the cheese. Then on top of the cheese goes the buns that we set up, and those are gonna steam. And to help them steam, I like to kind of squish them a little bit, get those juices hitting the pan and creating steam so those buns get nice and warm quickly. And then once the burger's cooked through and that cheese is melted and the buns are steamed, there is a technique that White Manna uses to get the buns off the spatula. And that's taking that top bun, flipping it underneath to close the sandwich, and then with your thumb pinching and sliding the spatula from under the burger. And then you give it a flip right side up, and there is your perfect little White Manna slider. Make sure you scoop up any of those delicious charred onion bits into the burger, and then go ahead and get that batch of burgers off the grill, scrape up any bits that remain on the grill, and then we can do another batch of burgers. And this time I'm gonna do 2 doubles up front. Just 2 singles stacked on top of each other. And then I'm gonna throw on 3 more singles. You can really choose if you want doubles or singles, but we're gonna cook them the same exact way. And now America is booming with legendary burger spots, but this one's particularly special. Created for the 1939's World Fair, White Manna was designed to serve as a model for the future of diners. Small, efficient, made of stainless steel. But then in the 1940s, it moved to its current home in Hackensack, New Jersey, and has been serving sliders to locals and passerbys for 80 years, and to this day, its recipes, methods, and its design remain unchanged. This place is a piece of American history. And in a world where White Castle and Oklahoma onion burgers already had been established, because of its quality, consistency, and historical roots, White Manna was able to carve out its own niche in the American burger world because of these sliders. And it's the perfect way to make a lot of amazing burgers really fast, which is particularly useful this time of year as our backyard gatherings get cooking. And maybe this is just me, but when I'm cooking for people and I'm making something like White Manna burgers, I want to feel like I'm on the line at White Manna, which is why this griddle is so fun to cook on. And to clean it, simple. Scrape and wipe up any bits that remain on the griddle after cooking. And then I just pour a little bit of water on top and I scrape everything up, wipe up all the moisture that hasn't evaporated from the heat, give it a quick wipe with a dry towel, and then maybe a thin coat of oil on top, and it's done. Super easy to maintain. And the result is a fat stack of burgers that would make anybody drool. And I love a burger, but when they're small, I think I like them better. Now the beauty of these is how incredibly crushable they are. It's beefy, it's oniony, it's cheesy. Perfect proportions for a thing that I want to eat many of. Now that's a single, and this is a double. And it don't need much other than a pickle, maybe a little bit of ketchup. Just slightly bigger, still perfect. And trust me, if you're thinking of grilling, here's a little secret. Most people don't like grilled burgers. If you threw these burgers on a flat top on the grill, you will have the happiest guests. Now I'm gonna go enjoy these burgers. The recipe's gonna be down in the description. That's all that I have today. I'll see you next time. Until then, take care of yourself and go feed yourself.